Steve, friendly Canadian shit disturber.
A show about everything, but also about nothing.
Today, Steve stopped me from being a millionaire. I could have been a millionaire.
A show about sports and the power of friendship.
Texted everybody, please mute your phones. And Emmanuel is such a jackass.
A podcast so knowledgeable about sports, you will never need to listen to another podcast ever again.
MLB, okay, I think the Blue Jays and White Sox make it to the end. Is that possible?
A show that delivers the facts.
What is Daryl Morey on? He's got to be on some strong crack cocaine or something, asking that much for Ben Simmons.
Welcome to the We Got Balls podcast.
All right. Thank you all for joining us today. Today is going to be a little bit of a special release or maybe a special entry into our normal podcast. It's just me, Steve Trudeau. Today, though, I'm joined by my friend David, who is a professional mascot. And you ask, why do we have a mascot on? Well, our last episode, we got deep into the world of the mascot. And we were just so intrigued that I reached out and David was kind enough to join us today and talk about the inner workings of the mascot world. So David, thank you for joining us, my friend.
You're welcome. Yeah, it's glad to be here.
All right, so let's just get ourselves familiar with the audience. So can you tell me, David, what's your experience as a mascot? Like what teams or leagues have you been a mascot for?
So I've actually worked for 4 different teams. I started with a WNBA team, and then I went to minor league baseball. And I'm actually currently a mascot for an AUDL team, the Ultimate Disc League team, and as well as an AHL mascot.
And the AHL is the minor leagues of the professional hockey league. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So you've been pretty much every sporting league out there being a mascot for them. First of all, what got you into this? Like, what drew you to the mascot world?
I don't know. I've always been interested in being a mascot. I guess it's something that just always appealed to me. I don't know that growing up, I was kind of, on the shy side. I didn't like, being, out in front of people. But I also wanted to, be that person to be out there. And so I guess being a mascot kind of appealed to me in that I could go out there, perform, get people excited, do crazy stuff, and then nobody would actually know that it's me. It really that's something very unique in that you can do crazy stuff and yet not have it come back towards me personally.
I gotta agree with that sentiment because I don't know if you're familiar. Do you watch Always Sunny in Philadelphia? Have you ever watched that show?
I've actually never seen it. No.
Okay, are you familiar with the Green Man suit?
Is it just like a Zantai suit that's completely green? Or
yeah, so it's pretty much just a complete skin tight bodysuit that's just all green. Kind of like your video right now. I don't know if you're aware, but you are like in witness protection over there. It's hilarious for those watching on video, but it's all good.
Nice,
We're protecting your identity today because this is very important stuff. Obviously, we don't want anyone to know who's behind the mascot. So, David, we're keeping your identity safe. But back to the Green Man suit. So it's basically a full green bodysuit. You're completely covered, nothing showing. And when I have that thing on, my God, I feel like I'm invincible. No one knows who I am. I can be just this amazing performer. And I think I'm feeling that sentiment from you, right? That's the appeal to the whole mascot world.
Yeah. It totally frees you up to just do whatever, whatever you want. And you don't really care because nobody knows it's you. So it's great.
Yeah, and I'm getting some comments from the audience that people are definitely agreeing that being a mascot sounds like a really, really fun thing. That's from Mariah. Good to see you again, Mariah. I haven't seen you in a while. We appreciate you back. So you said you've been a mascot for 4 leagues, the WNBA, minor league baseball. Let's see, I got the Ultimate Frisbee League and the AHL. Of those 4 leagues, which one did you enjoy most? Like which one do you have the most fun in personally?
They're different in different ways. So minor league baseball was fun because we could kind of just do whatever, right? They were just open to, you know, having us entertain the crowd with whatever we came up with. They were game for. Whereas like with the AHL, it's quite the show. You know, they know how to put on a show, and being part of something so, you know, established and produced is really, really something else. And they're really cool in different ways.
Nice. And Mariah is asking a great question, because this was on my list of questions for you. So, as a mascot, do you have to do certain things to be physically fit for the job? Because I know it varies based on what league you're in. You know, you see some of the NBA guys, like they are doing acrobatics and high flying stunts. You know, maybe you have the baseball guys, it's more of a performance art. So, what do you have to do to get yourself ready to be a mascot?
Yeah, like you said, a lot of that is league dependent and also team dependent and character dependent, right? Some of the big fat mascots, right? No matter how talented the performer is at like gymnastics or stunts, things like that, the character wouldn't allow them to do things like that, right? So the fatter mascots are more, you know, comedic. The slimmer mascots are more athletic. For me personally, I definitely work out. Especially doing AHL, I was okay skating, ice skating, but I certainly wasn't the best. I had never played hockey or anything like that. I wouldn't fall down too much on the ice. But I definitely have, you know, go skating, you know, 3 times a week just to, you know, really strengthen that skill, make myself better that way. Before I was in the AHL, I would do some practice. Obviously, cardio is very important. You get extremely tired, and it's very physically demanding to be a mascot, right? Not only do you have to deal with, you know, the heat from the suits, the airflow restrictions. It's kind of like wearing an altitude mask. I don't know if you've ever worked out with one of those, but
you look like Bane with those things on, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, working or just wearing the head, it restricts your airflow. So it's very much like being at high altitude. So, and then on top of that, you're doing, you know, acrobatics or you know, dancing and really entertaining the crowd. So your cardio, you know, needs to be up in order to sustain. I mean, depending on how long the game is, 2 hours to, you know, depending on the sport, maybe football, you've got a 4-hour long game that you've got to be, you know, entertaining the crowd throughout, and it can be very demanding. So cardio is very important as well.
So you mentioned like there's a lot of physical activity involved. You know, I imagine like if you're mascotting in like the South or maybe in California on the West Coast, it can get really hot in the summer. So you're probably breaking a good sweat underneath that outfit, right?
Yeah. You sweat no matter what, you know, time of year it is. You're always sweating. But yeah, during the heat, it really hits you.
Right. So my wife actually wanted me to put this question for you because she knew I was talking to you today, and she wants to know, how often do you wash these costumes or these mascot suits? Because I assume they can get really nasty. And then how do you wash them? Is it like a dry clean? You're not throwing in your laundry machine, I assume.
Well, so so it depends on the performer, right? I mean, and what type of homestand you have. So if you have like back-to-back games, you usually won't have time to clean the suit in between games. So when that happens, you'll usually spray it down with some sort of disinfectant and or smell reducer. That there's some products. We try not to use like a Febreze product because they kind of leave residue and things like that. But there are other odor reducing products that can help. But really, you want to do some sort of disinfectant spray in between games if you're not able to wash the suit, and then let it air out. Putting it right in front of a fan will help dry it out a lot faster and reduce the smells. But yeah, mascot suits can get pretty smelly if they're not well taken care of. I've recently started playing hockey, you know, to really improve my skating skills, and it's almost like walking into a hockey locker room. You know, you get that smell that just comes at you, right? If a mascot suit isn't well taken care of, you know it. As far as actually washing the suits, you actually never want to dry clean them. Dry cleaning will ruin the fur of a mascot suit faster than anything else. As well, you never want to put it in a dryer. The heat will also ruin the fur. So what you actually do is you put it in a normal laundry machine. It's best to actually turn the suit inside out so that the fur is all on the inside. It's not rubbing up against a bunch of stuff. And then you will wash the suit on, a cold cycle with just regular detergent. Some people use different detergents. There's a lot of discussion in mascot groups about different detergents to use and things like that. But yeah, so you wash it, and then as soon as it's done in the washing machine, you'll take it out and you'll just put it directly in front of a fan and try and get it dry as fast as possible.
So Mariah's killing with questions today, and I know the answer to this, and I have a follow-up question. So Mariah asked, do opposing mascots, so if you're being a mascot for one team, there's another team on the other side of the field, they have their own mascot. Is there any animosity between the two mascots, or is there a camaraderie because you're all in this mascot universe? And we were talking before the show that you are part of many mascot groups, right? So there is sort of like a fraternity of mascots, right?
Yeah. We definitely talk a lot, and we try to, bounce ideas off of each other. And yeah, it is very much like a fraternity. We all kind of, have the same job, and it's a small group, right? There's only, maybe 40 teams in each league. And so there's not many professional mascots out there. And so we all kind of know each other, and so it's a small, tight-knit group. As far as like rivalries with the opposing mascots, so in professional sports, you almost never will see the opposing mascot, right? The mascots don't travel with the teams.
Oh, that is true. That is true, actually. Did not consider that.
Yeah. So the only time that you may see other mascots is like on the mascot's birthday, which they normally will invite a bunch of other local mascots as well as other league mascots to come to the event. They'll usually do that once a year and invite other mascots, and it's kind of like a party. We get together and we do some crazy stuff, both in front of the fans and not in front of the fans. But yeah, so the only time that you really will see an opposing mascot is at the college level. Often the cheerleaders will travel with the teams to an away game, and the mascot will kind of go with them. But overall, it's usually a very friendly, they'll do some, often they'll plan some like skits where they're fake fighting or something like that. Right. Very, very rarely will you get something where they're actually fighting or going after each other. I know of probably two main incidents where the opposing mascot actually really took out the home mascot or the other way around, and it was quite the news stories at the time. So
all right, you're being far too nice, David, so I want you to get a little mean on me. Let's be honest, there's some great mascots out there, but there are also some terrible mascots out there. What is in your opinion, all right, here you have complete anonymity, I can't, the word's tough. What is the worst professional mascot in all of major sports? Like the professional mascot that makes not the person, I'm sure the person behind the mascot is fantastic, but just the design and the idea is just like, what the hell were you thinking?
So it's not a main character, but the worst mascot in professional sports would have to be King Baby from the New Orleans Pelicans.
Oh, that one is so bad.
It is horrible.
I have a nominee for you as well. When we were talking, I'm sure you said you listened to the podcast episode, but my worst professional mascot is the San Antonio Spur Coyote. Have you seen his eyes? Oh no, I'm well aware of that coyote, and I actually disagree very vehemently about that. Yeah, the coyote is. I mean, he's a legend.
He is a legend, and having the eyes be able. So, did you know his eyes can come off his head? they're basically velcroed onto his head,
Okay.
and he can like take them off mid performance, and he can move them around and do crazy stuff with them.
I've missed
So
this.
like there's some clips of him, I think a player like ran off the court one time and ran into him, and like the coyote like stands up and he doesn't have any eyes anymore, and
That's great.
yeah, he does some amazing things with that.
All right, I take it back, Coyote. You're cool in my book. You're cool in my book. So I actually do have a question, and maybe you can help me with this one because you seem to know a ton about the mascot world. And before I get to this question, I just want to get the terminology correct. Do I call the person that is donning the attire the mascot, or I know the mascot is the attire itself? What do I call the person that is the wearer of a mascot? What's the proper term?
I mean, you could use the word performer, a mascot performer.
Perfect. I didn't want to use the wrong terminology.
Yeah. Or mascot. I mean, it's a job as well as, so.
And one that pays very well if you're in the right situation. Did you hear how much Rocky made?
Yeah, well, that doesn't surprise me. He's been at it for more than 30 years. And I assume a lot of that comes from not actually direct salary, but often when they report the salary, that it's all those appearance fees that you guys mentioned.
Oh yeah,
they will include those numbers. Depending on the team, sometimes the all 100% of that will go directly to the performer. Sometimes it's a portion of that will go to the performer.
That was one of my questions. Like when you are off duty, so I mean, let's say I am the Rocky, the mascot for the Denver Nuggets. When I get done with my shift, can I take the outfit home and then do appearances and just pocket all that cash? But it seems like you have to do some sort of split usually, right?
Well, so all those appearances are usually coordinated with the team, right? So mascots will have a website on the team site where you can request an appearance from the mascot. So all of those like requests will go through the official channels.
Okay.
And it's very for the upper level mascots. Their schedules are very tightly booked, right? They are, especially if they're going to hundreds of appearances a year. They can't just do random events here and there because they are already booked completely.
That makes sense.
Sometimes months in advance.
So Mariah asked a question that actually Mariah, you're killing it. On my paper, I had this, and I was curious. I mentioned this in the podcast last week. So there are mascots like the Boston Celtic where you don't adorn headgear. It's just a person. So you can't switch the Boston Celtic out. But let's say I'm Benny the Bull. It's a big bullhead. Is it possible for me to like have two performers and switch out the costume or have two costumes? Because like I imagine it can get very tiring. And also maybe someone's a specialty in dancing and there's another guy that's a specialty in air acrobatics. So you can switch out mascots here or there. Is that a thing, or is it like one mascot, one performer? That's it.
So I'm not aware of. Well, okay. So it depends on the team. Some teams will only let one person at a time wear the mascot suit ever, right? And so they'll that person is 100. Whenever the mascot appears, it is that person,
right?
Other teams will have a main performer and then a backup performer. And so, I mean, if there's too many events or conflicting events, even
people get sick too.
Right. People get sick or break a leg or.
Oh, wait, hold on. This is a great. Whenever you're done with this point, I have questions about injuries now.
Okay. So the backup performer is there, and often they're like a handler when they're not doing, when the main mascot can do it, the backup performer will often be a handler to help manage the main performer. Just to lighten the load, because there's so many events that you can't necessarily do them all. I don't know of I haven't heard of a team, a professional sports team that will switch performers mid-game.
Right.
I do know college mascots will often do that, especially at football games. They will have somebody do like the pregame, somebody else do the first half, and somebody else do the second half. And college is, completely different than major leagues. They usually have an entire team that handles the mascot with, sometimes 8 people, that could be the mascot at any time. It depends on the college. Some colleges only have one person that does it, like Stanford has their tradition with their tree and things like that. So quick correction on Stanford. The mascot is actually the band's mascot, and the person gets chosen by the previous mascot every year, and they have to make their own suit.
And that's why it's so, because we're looking at photos of the Stanford tree, and some of them were just horrendous, but some of them were okay. Yeah. So that's why there's so much variability.
That's why there's so much difference. Yeah.
Do you have any more fun? Do you have any more fun mascots? I feel like you have so many interesting mascot nuggets that no one would ever know. Like, who knew that the Stanford tree was made new every year by the mascot or the performer themselves?
I'm full of all sorts of mascot wisdom. I'm not sure I can pull them up on demand unless they just come to me. All
right. I will do my best as the interviewer to try to squeeze all these nuggets out.
Definitely.
So I do have another question. It's interesting because there obviously is a difficulty to become a professional mascot. And I assume it's not like the college ranks where you're probably just trying out for the job, right? You probably have to have been in the industry for a while and maybe work your way up. So let's say I want to be like Rocky and make $650,000 a year.
Good luck.
And Emmanuel wants to actually take his daughter out of college, one of my co-hosts, and make her a mascot after this conversation, because apparently some of these people are killing it. But so if I wanted to be a professional mascot in the highest level, how do I work my way up to it? It's got to be such a grind, right? Is it like professional sports where you start in the minor leagues and then someone sees you and promotes you? Like, what's going on?
So it often is kind of like that, where you'll start in. I mean, school is a great time to start if you want to be a mascot, because you're already in school. It's really easy to just get some experience that way. So a lot of people will actually start in school, but not everybody. I actually didn't have the opportunity to do it in school. My other program was way too busy. Some people will start in college, then they'll go to the minor leagues. Unfortunately, the minor leagues do not pay well at all, and you are extremely lucky if you find a full-time minor league position for a mascot. If you do find a full-time minor league position, you are often doing the mascot job and doing a front office job as well. So you have to do both. But you can work your way up that way, from into the minor leagues, then up into the major leagues. And even once you get to the major leagues, there's kind of a hierarchy of mascot positions in the majors, where the lesser mascots want to be kind of in the top tier, so they'll switch from team to team that way too sometimes. But actually, so one year when I was working for the WNBA, I did the NBA All-Star Weekend, and of course, nice. All the NBA mascots showed up. And talking to most of them, none of them, had really super wanted. I mean, I'm sure some of them, I can't say none of them. A few of them had wanted to be mascots, and they sought it out and did it. But a lot of them kind of just, it landed in their laps, right? They were in the right place at the right time. They had, some sort of talent, like the gymnastics experience, or they had been working. One guy had been at Six Flags, doing mascot stuff.
Okay.
And so they were just kind of in the right place at the right time. And it kind of just landed in their lap. They were invited to, audition for the position, and then they got hired to it. But yeah, most of those guys didn't actually go through the minors.
Yeah,
which is interesting.
I find it interesting that you mentioned the gymnastics. I actually wrote down as a note to ask you, like, do most professional mascots, at least in maybe the NBA, because I find the NBA to be the most physically demanding of the mascot sports. Do you have to have a background in gymnastics, or if you don't have one when you start, is it something you need to be trained in because it requires a lot? I mean, it's way more than I could do. I could not do any of the stuff those NBA mascots do. They're crazy good.
Yeah, it depends on the team and the character.
Right.
So, yeah, there are the dunking mascots that do need to be able to, do flip dunks off of trampolines and things like that.
Have you ever done that, David?
I have done flip dunks.
I'm so excited to hear that. Have you?
I've never done it in front of an audience. I've done it in practice.
You know what the move is, though, right, David? If you know you're not going to make the dunk, and I've seen this many times before, you just do the flip and bounce the ball off the ground, and it looks like you're meant to do it. That's the pro tip,
right
there. No, I do actually have a couple really not serious but pressing questions I want to ask you. One, in the mascot world, is there a hierarchy of mascots for sports? So do maybe the NBA mascots look down on some of the other ones? Does like the NHL mascots feel like they're the bottom man of the totem pole? Is there some sort of like career hierarchy for mascots? Like, I want to be in this league because this is the most prestigious league for mascots.
I think that's kind of on a personal level, right?
Okay.
So for me, I would kind of tend towards the NBA side of things, whereas some of my other friends would tend towards the NFL, right? And so and many people are extremely happy in baseball. So yeah, it's kind of on a personal level what you want to be. I imagine kind of like professional athletes, the ones that are able to do any sport, they kind of just have that personal preference and they go that way.
So Mariah asks, she's killing again. Mariah asks, and I think this is a great question. So when you are a professional mascot, do you have the freedom to create your own routines and choreography or your own stunts? Like, do you have creative privileges, or is there someone kind of controlling either A, the dance choreography, or B, maybe some of the stunts you're doing, the wacky or otherwise?
So almost always the mascot will be responsible for coming up with their own skits, their own stunts, and things like that. It's a lot of, so the leagues, the professional leagues will usually have kind of a mascot conference. I know the NBA, who knows what they're doing now with COVID and everything. But
Right.
Before COVID, they would actually have a mascot conference before the season started, where they talked about what happened last year. They'd give out awards to the best mascot in the NBA that year and things like that. And then they would kind of like share skit ideas and things like that. So oftentimes you'll actually see a skit, go from NBA team to NBA team. It's the same exact skit because they created it at the conference and they just shared it with each other. But yeah, it's usually on the performer themselves to come up with the skits and the stunts.
That's interesting. And speaking of stunts, I watched a lot of NBA on the League Pass. So basically, I get to watch what's going on in the arena during the game, and I love it because I love to watch the mascots do all these crazy, wacky things. I find it to be entertaining as hell. And my question to you is, you personally, have you had the opportunity to do any wacky stunts? So, for example, I watched Rocky the other day pour a bag of popcorn on someone's head, or I've seen people throw cakes at other, fans in the stand. So, for you, have you done anything wacky and fun that you would like to share that you're most proud of?
Probably. I mean, the weirdest thing would be, riding a unicycle on the grass at a baseball field.
That's a classic one.
Yeah. Nothing too crazy. I mean, with the minor leagues, we don't normally get up to too many, big stunts or anything like that.
All right. Well, how about this? Of the stunts that you've heard or seen of, what is your favorite wacky stunt of all of them you can think of?
One of the most impressive is the backflip off a ladder dunk.
Oh my God. Yes, that is scary as hell.
Yeah. Well, and I've heard them talk about it, and often they won't ever have practiced it before because it's such a scary stunt that the only time they've ever done it is live.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
See,
Yeah.
not only are these
They're crazy.
mascots great performers, but they are brave as hell because I
Oh
would
yeah.
no way in hell do that for the first time live in front of
Right.
40,000 people.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm a rehearser. I can't do anything first time live.
Oh my
Yeah.
God. So I just have a few more questions before we get out of here. So have you or someone you know, another mascot in the game, ever gotten into a kerfuffle with a fan? Because I feel like, you're at some of these games, people are having a little bit too much to drink. Maybe, it's an opposing fan, or maybe someone's just getting a little rowdy and for some reason, they don't like the mascot today. You ever heard of that happening?
That can happen. I've seen video of it happening. I I've never had an adult fan kind of get in a fight with me. I've had
Okay.
unruly kids
And
that you have
you
to
took
deal
that
with.
kid out, right? You have to put the kid in his place.
Well, so you make it look like an accident, but you like will sit down hard on top of a kid or something like that. But yeah, there's ways to deal with unruly children.
Because Emmanuel, which he's again one of my co-hosts, he is a crazy son of a. He actually is inspired by Gritty, one of his favorite mascots, and he read that Gritty actually punched a child and got away with it. So Emmanuel is all about becoming a mascot now after hearing that story. So you're giving him hope. You're giving
Just
him
wants
hope.
to punch a child.
He's a weird guy. I don't know what to tell you. He is a weird guy. There's two types of mascots in the mascot game, right? You got your Benny the Bull, Rocky, the mountain lion, and then you have like your Lucky the Boston Celtic. Do you guys look down a little bit? You just a little bit on the guys who don't wear the headdress, and it's just kind of I'm wearing a Halloween costume and running around the arena.
I wouldn't say look down. It's a different type of respect, right? So I could never do it with an open face. We call those face characters.
Okay.
Yeah, I could never do that. I need the anonymity in order to perform. So it's kind of like a begrudging respect for them. They can do that, whereas I couldn't. I don't know that there's any like looking down on. I mean, they still do the stunts. They still perform.
That's true.
So.
And there is something to having to look in someone's eyes face to face when you're doing these stunts or interacting with the fans. It's way more pressure, I would say.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say it definitely respect.
All right. Before my last question, is there anything I've neglected to ask you today that you think would really interest the fans of the show? Something that they don't know about the mascot world that I was just unaware of asking?
You never did follow up with your injury question.
What is the worst injury that you've suffered performing, and what's the worst injury you've heard of a colleague, maybe director or just in the professional world, suffer while performing?
So I actually have never really been injured very badly. That the worst thing that I think would happen to me was like a jammed finger. I haven't even like sprained an ankle or anything like that.
Show off over here, geez. He rides unicycles and he doesn't get hurt. He's amazing.
Well, unicycle is actually very safe. You don't even have to wear a helmet. I mean, you just.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
Well, it's hard. I won't say it's not hard, but it is very safe. Just step off of that thing. The worst injury I've heard would have to be Dan Mears, KC Wolf.
Yes.
So he I think back in 2013 had a horrific accident, and I think it took him like 2 years or a year and a half to recover. Something with his spine. I'm trying to.
Oh
I
my
don't remember the
gosh.
details off of hand. But yeah, he was. I forget what happened. I think he was doing a stunt off of like with a bungee, and he fell like 160 feet or something like
Was it
that
not
into the
short enough?
stands. I don't know the details of exactly what happened. It's been a long time since I read his book.
And just to follow up, how's he doing now? He's doing all right.
He recovered, and he's back at it, and he's back performing. He's an amazing guy. I mean, he's one of. So there are some mascots that are publicly have declared who they are, and he's one of them. He'll go to schools. He'll, in front of the students, he'll take off the head. He'll take off the entire suit. He'll actually put it on a kid in the audience and things like that. So,
nice.
Yeah, he's one of the cool mascots that just shares everything about mascot, and he's also one of the nicest guys. Yeah, so his is definitely probably the worst injury that I've ever heard of.
Well, we're all glad that he's doing much better. That's horrific, absolutely horrific, and I can't let us end on that because that's just like way too somber. So I'm gonna have to ask you to end this show today, David. I'm going to have to ask you a very, very tough question. Now, we all know that there are 25 members of the Mascot Hall of Fame as of today. I want you to personally, you get the control now. You are the head of the Mascot Hall of Fame. I want you to pick a new member, inductee of the Mascot Hall of Fame. One and one only. However, you have to remove a current member to add a new one. So who on that list of mascots of the 25 is, they're all deserving. They're all deserving, but who is of the 25, like number 25, he might fall out of the Mascot Hall of Fame, and who should be elevated to the ranks of the great ones?
That's a tough one, man.
And just when you think to help you filibuster, just whatever you do, don't induct that damn raptor, because I don't want that. I don't want that child punching Emmanuel to get any satisfaction today in this show. He is not getting his raptor in the Hall of Fame.
Right. So I think I'd have to go with removing Lil Red.
University of Nebraska.
Yeah, University of Nebraska. I mean, of all
he's
the
horrifying. I just looked at him. He looks like a creepy child. Yeah, get him out of here.
Right. I mean, he's a big child. He's the only inflatable on the list. I don't think I've really. I mean, I've seen some highlights of him, but yeah, nothing really that impressive. I think everybody else I've seen, some cool stuff from, but I don't know that I've ever seen anything cool from him.
I think there was some sort of like Little Red knew somebody at the Hall of Fame. He had the hookup. So he just
could be.
Yeah. Nepotism.
Yeah.
Little Red. He got some nepotism in addition. All right, so you did the hard part. You got rid of Little Red. He's out of the Hall of Fame. Who are you replacing Little Red with? Any mascot anywhere in the world? Let's just stick to professional sports to keep it easy for you.
Yeah. I would actually go with somebody who was nominated this year but did not make it past the first round.
Interesting.
And that is Slugger, the Portland Sea Dog.
All right, Slugger, welcome to the Hall of Fame.
His skits are amazing. His entertainment is on point, and I'm not quite sure if it just wasn't enough social media push to get him all the votes that he needed, but yeah, I think he really deserves to be in the Hall of Fame.
I'm with you. And just quick aside for you, what do you think about Stuff the Magic Dragon? Yes or no?
Stuff is cool. He has done some amazing things. I would go for Stuff. Yeah, behind Stuff all the way.
David, you are good in my books, my friend, and I really, really, really appreciate the time. I did not expect this to be this good, and man, you blew my mind. I came into this discussion fascinated with mascots, and my fascination has just been tenfold after this. And just because you've been such a good sport, is there anything that you want to plug? Anything that you're up to that you want our audience to know? Anything at all, or?
No, I mean, I need to keep my anonymity, so yeah,
Of course.
nothing big here.
It's like David and Batman, the two great anonymous men in suit.
Yeah, I'm up there with the greatest. So
Well, David, thank you so much for joining us. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you had a great time today. I hope you learned a lot because I sure did. And we'll catch you back next week. Peace out.
yeah.